What's going on, nerds and bandits? It's your boy Noel, aka Mr. NCU himself, back at it again with another video. So as time has been going on, I've been doing what I can to grow my channel even more, especially talking about other animes, even some comic book related stuff. But of course, it always seems to be that One Piece is doing me really well. And with weekly chapters coming out, there's always something fresh on my mind for me to theorize about or even just make a what if story about. And because my love of writing, whenever new information comes out or I just go back to read or watch some old One Piece content, there's always something that I instantly start building upon, seeing how something could have gotten fleshed out or thinking about other characters being within the One Piece universe. And though there are a plethora of characters that I could sit back and write an extensive story about, whether it be in the One Piece world or going towards a different anime universe and vice versa, the one character that's always the biggest mystery is of course Imu. Now before I continue on, I do want it to be known that this video will contain heavy manga spoilers, so if you are not caught up, then please click off, go read if you want to, but if you don't, hey, come back once it gets animated, because I think this theory has somewhere to go. If you are still here, you either caught up in the manga or you're just staying to support, and either way, I really appreciate it. But with that being stated, there's a lot of mystery behind Imu, especially their identity and their connection to the Void Century. And with the latest chapters showing Imu a lot more, and of course me having some moments of watching Grand Line Review, I started to theorize more and more about this character. And as I'm watching the anime and reading the manga, I started to think and believe that the reason why Imu is doing what they're doing is all based off of jealousy. Now this isn't something new, as other content creators have already sat back and made videos about Imu possibly being jealous of Joyboy or Lily in the aspect of wanting to be their love interest and it not happening. But with this video that I'm doing, not only do I want to hone in what could possibly be the origin story of Imu, Joyboy, and Lily, but also get into the aspects of Nika and the Void Century itself. Now I will let you all know, this is a wild one. It kind of was one of those things, as theorists already know, that once you start with one type of mindset, it then starts evolving, and then you're trying to connect pieces everywhere. So of course, stick with me and let me know what you think of this video. But of course, before I continue, if you guys don't mind, please like the video, subscribe to the NCU channel, and turn on post notifications so that you always get updated when I upload. Doing this helps me gauge what you guys like more and what you guys like less, and overall helps me get really into creating more long form content, because that's really what I want to do with this channel. And if somehow this video popped up on your For You page and you just decided to click on it just to support this one video, hey, I appreciate you nonetheless. But with all that being stated, let's get into the real reason, of course, that you clicked on this video. Imu, the Void Century. Let's talk about it. So to start this theory, we have to get into a small recap of what we know so far about Imu. From what we know, Imu is a mysterious character that sits on the empty throne within the highest point of the world government. Sitting right under Imu is the Five Elders, and not only do they have fear of Imu, but it seems like Imu has some sort of control over them, as once Saturn failed his mission, Imu took that power away, which ended up killing Saturn. Currently in the elbaph arc, though we're in a flashback, we see that Imu was able to possess Gunko and be able to use her body in order to use their powers. Imu's powers, not Gunko's powers. This power that we see currently is of course Dami Reversi, which allows Imu to sit back and flip over, like the game, any character that we see and turn them into more so a demonic form of themselves. And of course, we're seeing during the God Valley incident, where we have the Rocks Pirates, the Marines, the Roger Pirates, the Holy Knights all clashing, we see that Imu appears and decides to take over Saturn, or at least merge with Saturn to a degree. And that's kind of all we know so far, outside of course, Imu having this butterfly flower throne room, having a giant straw hat in a freezer, and then having the bounty posters of Blackbeard, Luffy, and Vivi. There's also the obsession with not only Joyboy and Nefertari D. Lily, but of course just trying to snuff out anybody who's sitting back and trying to study the Void Century. Now for the past couple of months, we've been in the elbaph arc, and one of the biggest things that we've been seeing both during the arc and of course the flashback portion of the arc is that this focuses a lot on love. Whether it be Rayleigh's love for Shaki, Rock's love for his family, or even Scapa love for his child, there is a love theme when it comes to this arc. And for me, that's when the gears started turning and I started crafting this theory, especially in the aspect of trying to figure out how this all could connect and the possible backstory that Imu could have. So with that laid out, let's get to the beginning of where I think this theory is, and of course, the entire possible backstory of Imu. So first things first, the one big thing that we do not know, of course, is whether Emu is a man or a woman. Nevertheless, whether Emu is a man or a woman, that doesn't necessarily change this theory. It just kind of decides on which perspective and viewpoint you see Emu coming from. And I know some people believe that Emu is Nefertari D. Lily. That's not where this theory is going, as of course I have Lily as their own character, and you're gonna see more and more as I continue. So during the Joy Boy era, we understand that there was a lot more livable land than there currently is, as a lot of that land now is underwater. With this, you would have the ancient kingdom and you would have a bunch of other scattered kingdoms going around. And of course, the ancient kingdom would be a lot more technologically advanced, especially considering the words that Vegapunk was able to broadcast to us, as well as the giant image robot that not only Joy Boy was friends with, but of course survived through the Void Century and ended up on Egghead. Getting into the characters though, I would have Emu being either a relative to Joy Boy or Lily, or just a best friend to one of them. Joy Boy and Emu could have been brother and sister, or best friends living in an ancient kingdom, or you could have had Lily and Emu being sisters, brother and sister, or best friends living in Arabasta. No matter which way you decide to look at it, all three of them eventually come together, meeting, of course, kind of like a Ace, Luffy, and Sabo situation, and becoming really, really good friends. You would have it where Lily has never been to the ancient kingdom, and of course Joy Boy has never been to any of the other kingdoms, so they both agree to just show each other around and to understand the world that they're living in. As Lily is fascinated by all of the technological advancements that the ancient kingdom has, Joy Boy is kind of frustrated, especially in the aspect that there are still slaves and slavery going on in the One Piece world. Not only does Joy Boy get frustrated with the fact that people are still being persecuted and subjugated the way that they are, but of course he feels like all these other kingdoms in the One Piece world as a whole could benefit from the technological advancements that the ancient kingdom has. This is something that Emu and Lily agree with, not only because it could of course advance the world and help everybody, but of course all of what's going on in the other kingdoms isn't what's currently happening in Arabasta, so Lily is all for it. And with that, Joy Boy and Emu start stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, and of course Joy Boy becomes the first pirate. Everything for them seems to be going very, very well as they're trying to help liberate and free a lot of those slaves. But eventually, as they're out to sea going to a different continent, a giant storm comes and destroys their boat. In any other anime, usually something like this would have ended the story and been like, oh, well, they capsized, it is what it is. But they wake up on a small island. Emu, Joy Boy, and Lily are all bandaged up, laying on some sort of bed, resting, having food next to them, and they're wondering who could have done this. And thus we're introduced to a character that has primarily been talked about in myths, but of course for this theory they're going to be an actual character, the Sea God. Of course, Emu, Joy Boy, and Lily are all sitting back confused, wondering why the Sea God saved them, and of course the Sea God decides, hey, you kind of reminded me of my brother. All three of them are confused, wondering who is your brother, what do you mean we remind you of your brother, we don't know what you're talking about, until they start noticing all the pictures within the room that they're in, and they start seeing a white-haired character. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Sea God's brother is the original Nika. And just like what's happening in elbaph currently, we're going to have a flashback within a flashback, so buckle in. So, kind of like a running theme in One Piece, a lot of these characters have a very, very tragic start to their backstory before they get to where they are now, and that will be the same as the Sea God and Nika. And I don't have a name for the Sea God, so I'm just going to constantly refer to them just as the Sea God, so bear with me. Nevertheless, Nika and the Sea God grew up as slaves. This wasn't a situation where they were born living a very, very happy and lavish life, and all of a sudden they just instantly got their town raided and became slaves. No, they were born into it. All they know is hard times. All they've eaten is rotten, old, and moldy food, and they've just gone through it and just are constantly put to work. One day, while stumbling away from where they were supposed to be, they end up falling into a cave and seeing a very, very shiny object. This object right here is, of course, the One Piece itself. Now, wait, before you decide to click off and say, oh my gosh, he's thinking the One Piece is this, Hear me out, especially because it kind of connects to what Luffy asked for at the end of Wano. For me, I think the One Piece is an object that's able to grant at least one wish. Of course, I don't have an actual shape of it or anything, but I think it is some sort of wishing object. I went down this route with the One Piece being some sort of wishing object, not only because it helps this theory, but because of what happened at the end of Vegapunk's message, and of course, Luffy's overall dream. Luffy's dream, of course, got cut off before he was actually able to say it to the audience, but of course, this whole Straw Hat crew was able to react in a very, very humorous way. And of course, people think that Luffy wants to throw this giant world One Piece party. And one thing that we know when it comes to Vegapunk's message is that he stated whoever gains the One Piece would be able to sit back and, of course, control and decide the fate of the world. And it's one thing if we only saw in that panel just the pirates, but of course you saw people like Akainu, you saw Emu, you saw Kobe, you saw Garp. It's like you constantly see a lot of these other individual factions and characters that overall it's going to be something that can legitimately change. And what better way to do that than having something that can grant a wish? Of course, being the One Piece, it's only able to grant one wish per user. Now Nika all but immediately grabs the One Piece and wishes for him and his siblings to have the ability to change the world. Considering the One Piece is in his hand and is connecting with his heart and his mind and where it's going, it decides to create the first 2 devil fruits. And with the One Piece being able to connect to the mind, of course, of the person who's making the wish, it sees within Nika that all Nika and his sibling have had was like really, really bad old and rotten food, which of course, while creating the devil fruit, since Nika and his sibling have never experienced anything really, really tasty, it makes the devil fruits taste bad. With this being stated though, they both get their devil fruits. Nika eats his and of course becomes the warrior of liberation, while his sibling eats theirs and of course becomes the sea god. And being the first 2 devil fruits in this series, this would also be a situation where their fruits were kind of already awakened. We all know that Nika's fruit is a mythical human Zoan, but for the sea god, I wanted to base theirs off of a mythical creature, specifically the Jormungandr. If you're not super deep into Norse mythology, understand that Jormungandr is the giant world serpent. If you want to get any type of picture of it, of course, think of God of War. For the One Piece story, I don't think that Jormungandr, if this would be true, will legitimately be something that wraps around the entire One Piece world, because the One Piece world is a lot bigger than regular Earth. But you never know what Oda decides to do. With this being stated, the sea god not only has more so of that Jormungandr form, but is also able to help create creatures and other yokai. And with both characters having their new abilities, they decide to go and free the slaves and of course liberate the world as they see fit. Though a lot of people of course are becoming free, are able to live their lives and not be subjugated under one tyrannical ruler, Nika is going about it in a very, very reckless way. This would be something akin to, of course, Luffy, where Luffy doesn't sit there and take the quiet approach when it comes to taking down his enemies. He will walk right through the front door and punch everybody in his way, which Nika does, which also gives him the title, of course, Liberator, but Destroyer. But of course, with all good things, it all eventually has to come to an end. Eventually, when it comes to the liberation and the friends that Nika and the Sea God have gained, Nika gets betrayed by one of those people and of course ends up being taken out. Due to his constant saving of people and of course liberation, he's eventually worshipped on Elbaph. During the creation of this theory, I couldn't decide if I wanted to make Nika and the Sea God sibling giants or even buccaneers, so I just left that open to interpretation. Nevertheless though, this still helps push the Nika story down and of course everything that leads up to current. After seeing their brother betrayed, the Sea God decides to flee back to their homeland. But on the way, they see that a mysterious fruit is hanging in a tree. This fruit is the same devil fruit that their brother ate in the beginning when they first got their powers. So, the siblings decide to take their fruit with them. And thus, we end that flashback and get back to where we see Emu, Joyboy, Lily, and the Sea God. And yes, after the Sea God and Nika made their wish, the Sea God decided to hide the One Piece in a very, very safe place in their homeland. After healing, doing some exploring, and everything in between, Joyboy starts to really feel motivated behind Nika. And of course, being a pirate, Joyboy convinces Lily and Emu to follow him so that they can find not only the devil fruit, but the One Piece. Eventually they find it, and the first thing Joyboy does, of course, is eat the Nika fruit. He, as everybody else that eats devil fruits, hates the taste, but eventually they start searching for the One Piece and Lily is the one who ends up finding it. Lily tries to explain to Joyboy that, hey, there was some things that Nika did wrong, but we have to make sure if this is what we're going to do, we have to do it correct. It can't be a situation where the Sea God and you, Joyboy, are the only two powers in this. And of course, in order for everybody to be able to live a little bit more free, we need everybody to be able to have some sort of power or ability. After hearing this, Joyboy takes the One Piece and decides to make his wish for everybody to be able to manifest their dreams and their desires into a devil fruit, thus creating the multitude of devil fruits that we have in the One Piece world. I know what some people are going to say, because I've already heard the memes, oh my god, somebody actually desired and wished to be a jacket. Well, in certain conditions, yes. That could be a whole situation where somebody who lived in a very, very cold and frozen area sat back and saw their family freezing to death, and they just decided, man, if only I could make them warm to help them survive. Thus, of course, creating the jacket fruit. After making this wish, Lily takes the One Piece back and tells Joyboy that he doesn't really understand. If everybody's able to have power, then yes, everybody is essentially able to be free, but not all powers are made equally. This could leave some people with very, very high unchecked power, and of course making them a lot stronger than others, and of course restarting the cycle of persecution and subjugation. So Lily decides to make her wish, for there to be able to be some sort of check and balance or even a counter to the devil fruits, which of course puts the creation of Haki there, puts it to where that devil fruits are only able to do one per user, and of course makes it harder for somebody to be able to awaken their devil fruit. After making this wish, Lily hands the One Piece to Emu and asks Emu, hey, do you have a wish that you want to make? Emu at this very moment doesn't necessarily have anything that they want to wish for, but as they're thinking and talking, they hear a giant hey and turn around and see the Sea God is staring right at them. The Sea God gets angry and asks, hey, what did you guys do? And Joyboy steps up and says, we made more devil fruits, but we also made it so that there's a power and of course a limit to how people are able to use their devil fruits and what can counter them. The Sea God understands to a degree, but still gets very, very angry at them because what they did could have the possibility, of course, to destroy the world. The Sea God then takes the One Piece and decides to finally use their wish, which basically curses all devil fruit users when it comes to the sea. This puts it so that no devil fruit user is able to swim, able to stay in the water, and of course the creation of things such as Sea Prism Cup. Then of course, like clockwork, Sea God kicks them out. Even though they were kicked out, Joyboy is now the new Nika, and what his mission now is to do is of course liberate those that are being persecuted and subjugated. And not only does he want to do that, but he also wants to still share that technology and of course those advancements from the ancient kingdom with those people. Lily and Emu of course are definitely behind this dream as long as it goes correctly and a lot more managed, and as each kingdom they go to, they're all of a sudden freeing them. They're also recruiting certain people into their ranks. With this recruitment, they're looking for the most loyal people who are actually about freedom and wanting to make a change, thus creating the D Clan. Years go by and the D Clan of course is growing, peace is being spread throughout the One Piece world, and of course each kingdom is becoming a lot more advanced. Throughout the years, people are also understanding that Haki exists and how to be able to counter other devil fruit users when it comes to Haki, and of course getting their devil fruits themselves. With all the good that they're doing and the advancements that are taking place, Lily dreams and wishes that she could see how this world would become once they're gone, ironically creating the Toki Toki fruit. And yes, this is a fruit that Lily ends up having because there is a tree next to her and the fruit forms right then and there, and then boom, she's now able to go forward in time. And as more time is starting to pass, Emu starts falling in love. Now, depending on how you look at it from the beginning of this theory, it could be falling in love with Lily or falling in love with Joyboy. No matter how you look at it though, that's not what type of timing they're on. See, throughout this progress, Lily and Joyboy have been falling in love with each other, and Emu necessarily wasn't a factor into this. And overall, you can look at this as almost like a giant heartbreaking betrayal, because whether Lily and Emu were best friends or related, or Joyboy and Emu were best friends and related, at the end of the day, they wanted a specific person, and that person did not want them. And with how much Emu loves said person, Emu starts becoming a little bit possessive, which then creates a possession devil fruit. Now, with this devil fruit not awakened, all Emu's able to do is, of course, possess the body of somebody else. And whether that be Lily or Joyboy, that's exactly what Emu does. Nevertheless, with Emu possessing one of these characters and trying to more so do dirt on their name, the ruse ends up failing, and with so much heartache, so much frustration, Emu leaves the ancient kingdom. Devastated, Emu only has one other option: to go back to the sea god's homeland in order to get the One Piece, to make the wish for either Joyboy or Lily to fall in love with them. Emu, of course, sneaks in and doesn't find the One Piece where it originally was, when all of a sudden the sea god sees Emu and asks, "Hey, what are you doing here?" I also kind of forgot to mention that Emu had got hit with love sickness, being one of the first people to hit with love sickness, and some years have passed and you're starting to see a lot of extra age showing up on Emu's face. Nevertheless though, Emu starts breaking down in front of the sea god, devastated, heartbroken, sad, angry, just wondering where everything went wrong. Joyboy, Lily, and Emu were already a trio. They did almost everything together and got the world to where it is currently. And Emu has always had feelings for either Joyboy or Lily and did what they could to show it constantly. But everything changed. Everything just went bad the moment that Joyboy ate the Nika fruit. All Emu wanted to do was just strip away that Nika fruit from him, destroy devil fruits, do something in order to be able to get that love and to lose this ugly appearance that they have. But unfortunately, that isn't the case, because devil fruits, once they're made and once the wish is put out there in the world, there's nothing else you can really do. But as Emu was continuing to rant, saying, well, if I can't get rid of the fruit, I just want somebody or something to be able to take it down, to be able to just cancel all of this out. And with this dream, with this frustration, Emu inadvertently creates the dark fruit. The sea god tries to sympathize with Emu, saying, listen, I know you're heartbroken, but you can't do this. I have to escort you out. You have to leave. But Emu then lashes at the sea god, trying to take the One Piece for themselves, which then a battle ensues. Every time the sea god creates a new creature or yokai to go after Emu, Emu just possesses that creature and attacks the sea god with it. Eventually though, Emu starts getting overwhelmed because the sea god creates multiple creatures and yokais at once, and at that point, Emu has nowhere to go and knows not what to do. But then one of the darkest things happens. Emu's devil fruit, the possession fruit, awakens. And with this devil fruit awakening, Emu then unlocks Dami Reversi. Now the tables are flipped on the sea god. Sea god's like, what's going on? Why are they all possessed? Why are they all coming back after me? And of course, with the abundance of creatures going after the sea god and Emu's knowledge of haki, which in this case the sea god necessarily doesn't know, the sea god is then defeated. The possessiveness and the possession just starts to grow within Emu, and right when he's about to do what he can to smite the sea god and all of a sudden take their devil fruit away from them, Emu is then reminded, hey, if we eat 2 devil fruits, it's gonna go bad for us. That's what Lily made as her wish. So with that thought in their head, Emu decides to make a different wish, that the devil fruits of their desire, of their creation, are able to decide to quell their anger, their frustration, the devil inside of the fruit, in order to allow another fruit to be eaten in order to take down Joyboy. And with this wish, not only is Emu able to have their possession fruit as well as the sea god fruit, but the dark fruit that they inadvertently created now decides to work alongside any other devil fruit that is eaten, which puts into account that, hey, this is why Blackbeard was able to hold the dark fruit and the quake fruit. Now I know that kind of tramples on the theory that Blackbeard just has this crazy genetic body and is able to hold 3 devil fruits. It doesn't make it the most clean type of explanation, but an explanation nonetheless. But of course, now with the possession fruit and the sea god fruit being in hand, and the awakening of the possession fruit being so dark and evil, at the end of the day, now these yokai and these other creatures that are being created are dark and evil as well, which of course is why the 5 elders have their forms the way that they are. But after defeating the sea god, Emu sees themselves and sees how ugly they've become, how much the love sickness has taken a toll on them, which is why they cloak themselves in the all black that we see in the current anime and manga. And it's also why they decide to kind of change up their voice a little bit, mainly because it's like, okay, hey, listen, I really old looking, ugly looking, I sound terrible. Let me do what I can to change this up. Moving past that though, a couple more years have passed and Imu has been creating this giant plan to get other kingdoms on their side in order to grow an army to take down the ancient kingdom and of course Joyboy. This of course created a Dami Reversi army, a bunch of yokais and everything in between, and of course they decide to wage war on the ancient kingdom. This battle is one of the biggest battles that we're going to see, of course, outside of the final war that we're going to have in One Piece, but it involves so many different factions, so many different creations, the fishmen, Emmett, you also have the ancient weapons, and overall a giant brawl that just doesn't end well. Joyboy then gets hit with a devastating blow, and with Imu standing over them, Joyboy asks, what happened to the world we were trying to create? And whether Imu decides to say this about Joyboy or Lily, Imu then says, you all were my world and that got destroyed. Now I'm creating my world. I am the world now. Joyboy then tells other members of his D clan as well as Lily to run, get away. They have to escape if they want to continue this liberation and the dream that they originally had. Davy Jones, yes, that one that's going to be related to Rocks and Blackbeard, vows to Imu that, hey, I will take down and destroy the world. And Davy Jones also lets Imu know that if it isn't me, somebody that's a descendant of me will be the one to take you down. Lily is then able to sit there and send some of the D-Clan members about a year or so into the future, just in order for them to escape and them to spread out throughout the One Piece world, but overall, a lot of them do get taken out. Lily is then captured and there to witness the execution of Joyboy, and Imu tells Lily, you either join my side and be a part of this 20 kingdom while I'm the one who stands over all of them, or you can meet the exact same fate as Joyboy. Lily hates to see what Imu has become and believes that living under this type of rule is worse than actually going out and being executed with Joyboy, but Joyboy convinces her that she needs to continue to live in order for everything to start turning around and for the One Piece world to be a better place. So, with a lot of heartache and begrudgingly, Lily decides to join the other 20 kingdoms under Imu. Joyboy is then executed, Marie Joie is then created, and overall, Imu does what they can to erase everything about the Void Century. Now, of course, that sounds like a fitting end, but doesn't answer a lot of other questions, and I still do have more explaining to do. One thing that we already know is that when it comes to the 20 kingdoms uniting under, of course, Imu in this situation, that Lily was the only person that didn't live in Marie Joie and decided to return back to Arabasta. And of course, this still happens, but this is how it's more so broken down. See, Imu was very, very smart, very calculated, very meticulous, and Imu understood that after executing Joyboy, that his devil fruit was going to grow somewhere. So, just kind of similar to Blackbeard, Imu kept a plant nearby so that that devil fruit would then regrow near them. And of course, Imu had that plus the One Piece locked away. As time is starting to pass, probably a year or so, Lily ends up finding where the One Piece and the Nika fruit are. With Lily's strength and of course Conqueror's haki and possibly the help of a guard, Lily then ends up stealing the Nika fruit and the One Piece and letting Imu know that she is going to go back to Arabasta just to check up on some family. Imu allows this, kind of waving it off, and then she ends up leaving Marie Joie, being one of the 20 kingdoms that actually didn't stay there. Eventually, another guard ends up finding out what happens, lets Imu know, hey, the devil fruit and the One Piece have been stolen, we do not know where it is. And Imu gets very, very angry and starts sending everybody after Lily. Lily then writes a note to her brother, letting her know that he's going to be the new king of Arabasta, and she hopes that one day they can see each other again. And what ends up happening while she's on that boat is she used the Toki fruit to send herself, the devil fruit, and the One Piece into the future. Now, with this being stated, it takes the One Piece and of course it takes the Nika fruit away from the eyes and the viewing of Imu, where now it's one of those, well, where is this fruit and where's the One Piece been, and of course why it's hidden in the current show. Nevertheless though, after successfully making it into the future, Lily decides that she's going to sit there and find two different locations. One to hide the Nika fruit and the other to hide the One Piece. Something I also forgot to mention was that Joyboy wouldn't have been executed immediately. While he was waiting for his execution, kind of similar to Gold D. Roger, he ended up having a couple of conversations with Lily. These conversations, in almost kind of like memoirs, were all taken down by Lily in order to put them on the poneglyphs, which with Lily in the future, she decides to start writing those down and having them scattered throughout the One Piece world. Not only kind of giving information about the Void Century, but of course just writing down the note, especially the note to the fishmen that Joyboy couldn't keep his promise. The promise to the fishmen were mainly due to Joyboy trying to make sure that they got liberated and were free, but also the protection of Poseidon, which during this war, Poseidon sacrificed themselves in order to try to help Joyboy buy some time and of course escape. A plan that unfortunately didn't work, but hey, it's still one of those reasons why Joyboy apologized. Lily during her time in the future also starts reaching out to certain islands, especially the island of Ohara, to teach them more about the Void Century, so that way that history isn't lost. And then once her mission is complete, Lily decides to live the rest of her life on Wano. Now this brings up a couple of things. You can either look at Lily being Toki and of course having Toki fruit, or you could look at Toki being a descendant of Lily or descendant of the Void Century, and Lily just eventually ends up passing away and Toki ends up eating that fruit. But overall, that's the theory. That's kind of where I left it off and kind of where I think it actually ties up really well. Now I know there are a couple of questions. One of them being like, oh my gosh, well what about Zunisha? Zunisha had to apologize to Joyboy. Well, that could of course be explained by Imu Dami reversing Zunisha. You also have another question saying, well, why didn't Roger, when he found the One Piece, just wish for everything to be well? And there are a couple of explanations for this. One, Roger was already sick. He passed away, well, he was executed a year after finding the One Piece. Not only that though, but of course, he didn't have the exact same will that Joyboy had. With this being stated, he even said with his last laugh that he wishes he was able to meet Joyboy. And his wish could have been, hey, I wish that Joyboy is able to meet at least a majority of my crew, especially if I know I'm not going to be able to meet you within a certain amount of time. Which of course helps the Nika fruit get uncovered eventually, and of course Luffy ends up eating it. And of course another question that everybody will probably be wondering is like, okay, Vivi, we understand the Lily connection, we understand Luffy with Joyboy, but why would there also be a picture of Shirahoshi and Blackbeard within the flower room? Like for Luffy, I don't think he's going to necessarily look like Joyboy, and of course just his power is obviously what Joyboy is. But with Vivi, with Blackbeard, and with Shirahoshi, they all look like Nefertari D. Lily, Davy D. Jones, and of course the original Poseidon. This also ties back to why Emu sat there and looked at rocks when they were about to clash and said, "Are you Davy Jones?" Because yes, the wheels were passed down, but also the facial features and just their looks are also similar. But with that, yeah, this is the end of the theory. This is what I think would be one of the craziest backstories for any character in One Piece, especially when it comes to the jealousy, the revenge, the anger, and just the erasing of the history. And it all ties in, especially into what's going on with elbaph, especially with the themes of love. And you can even look at the throne/flower room that Emu was always in, being a reminder of the time that they had with Lily and Joyboy. But for me, this is my take on what Emu's story could be, their obsession with the D-Clan, the eradication of the Void Century, and of course, the want and the constant talks of Nefertari D. Lily and Joyboy. But of course, let me know what y'all think of this theory. This is probably one of the most extensive things that I've thought about when it comes to making a video, and something that I had to dive deeper and deeper and deeper in, and even got help with a couple of friends. And of course, let me know in the comment section, was I whipping it up like Sanji, or was I more chefing it up like Streusen? And of course, for some more hot takes, reviews, and of course, what if stories about anime, comics, and everything else pop culture, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the page, and of course, turn on them notification bells. Thank you guys all for checking out my video and staying to the end. Of course, if you made it this long, share it with your friends, and I'll see y'all on the next one.